Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today is January 5th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. We've got the state of California, the Gulf of Alaska is back here, and if you notice all this cold air, that is what's going to be organizing into our next storm system that marches down the west coast of North America here, probably arriving in Northern California as we go through Saturday morning. We'll check out the timing of that when we start looking at the weather models here this morning as well. We'll take a look at the extended forecast. Looks like some very cold air is trying to make its way down across western portions of the USA, perhaps an extended period of very cold temperatures. We'll dive into those details as we go through the video. Taking a look at Southern California, you can see Saturday night through Sunday, the next system rolls across the area and some very low snow levels potentially, and even including the Grapevine, I-5 out there, and there's a chance of rainfall with it as well. Some gusty winds, so we'll dive into those details a bit here in a moment as well. But recommended actions, once you get on in towards Sunday, there's going to be some big impacts out there, so you might want to try to do your travel for Southern California on the day Saturday before that storm system drops down out of the northwest. Keep up to date the forecast, and of course check back here tomorrow and we'll keep you up to date with any changes that may occur. This is a large surf. This is going to be an ongoing theme here for the next at least week here to 10 days. Don't turn your back on the ocean. We've got some big wave action continuing with the storm activity moving down the coastline here. Not as dramatic as last week, but still you need to be aware. Don't get caught out there in the surf zone with your pets or your small children. And if you're a mariner out there, be very careful here because we're going to have some pretty active waves moving up and down the coastline here. And if it correlates with some of that high tide, we could get some coastal erosion and some minor coastal flooding with this as well. Now, this is looking at Sacramento National Weather Service. Check it out. Blue Canyon 12 to 18. South Lake Tahoe 8 to 12 here. Yosemite Valley down there as well. Look at these snow levels down all the way down to 2,000 feet potentially here as we go through Saturday and Sunday as the storm system, a very cold air mass, drops down across much of the state of California. Now, this is looking a bit further south across the central and the southern Sierra Nevada and potentially impacting areas all the way down towards the I-5 corridor in Southern California here. In Tehachapi, you might get a couple inches out of this as well. So impressive storm coming here. And again, lower snow levels than what we've been dealing with so far this year. Here's Reno, Nevada. Check it out. Saturday, they're drawing attention to the stronger storm coming this weekend. Impacts going on in through Sunday and Monday. And we also have another storm system coming in next week, and it could be a very cold one as well. I'll show you that in the weather models in a bit. Taking a look at the weekend recreational forecast here. Look at Death Valley on Sunday, 59 and breezy out there. It's going to feel very cold. Get your winter gear on out there. Look at Lake Havasu, Lake Mead, Valley of Fire out there. Very chilly temperatures, very cold air mass, and then potentially even a colder air mass moves down towards the end of next week. Now, winter storm system here. This is for Arizona. I want to draw the attention to this fairly dynamic storm as it moves across Arizona and New Mexico as well. You can see some snow levels getting all the way down towards 3,500 feet and big amounts the higher you go across some of the mountainous areas there as well. And this was updated this morning by Flagstaff National Weather Service. This is actually taking a look at Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you can see they are prepping for a very dynamic system as well. Much colder and stronger storm system rolling through here. So heads up for that. This thing's going to pivot across the southwest and really impact a large area. If you want a nice, affordable home weather station, you can't go wrong with this one here. It's very affordable. It's very accurate. Ultrasonic anemometer. Stores all the data for you in the cloud. There's no batteries. It's really easy to set up. It talks to other weather stations if you want it to. It's got UV index and a haptic rain gauge. Highly recommend this station. Click on that link down below to save 10% off. Now, taking a look at the wave action here. So you can just kind of see we're elevated here as we go through this weekend. You can see kind of an uptick there as we go probably through Sunday morning, all the way down through Southern California, maybe a tiny bit of a break there as we go through the early portion of next week. And then the next storm system starts making its way down the coastline here as well. And you can see the elevated wave action all the way in through the following week and potentially upcoming here, folks. So and while it's not as dramatic as it was last week, it's still going to be quite elevated. And of course, when that lines up with the higher tides, you can get some pretty big impacts. Now, taking a look at last night's European run here. So here goes our next storm system there. And this is going to start bringing some snow as we go through the day Saturday, afternoon Saturday. It's really going to be piling up across the Sierra Nevada as we go through Sunday morning. Monday, you can see it swooping down across Arizona and New Mexico, pushing off to the east. Then we've got another one setting up here, and this one is a vicious polar lobe that's been showing up in some of the model runs here, perhaps introducing a very cold air mass across much of the western USA, and we're going to have all kinds of crazy solutions showing up here in the models over the next few days. So that'll be our job, trying to work this out and trying to get some confidence in the forecast. But it definitely looks like a very cold air mass dropping down. You can get all kinds of crazy scenarios, windy mountain snows, even some lower elevation snowfall, not completely out of the question. Looking at the NAM 3KM, this is 80 meter wind speed here. So I want to draw the attention to Saturday coming up here. You'll see the storm system start to come down the coastline. There goes the frontal system. There's going to be some really gusty winds across the higher ridges of the Sierra Nevada, Northern California. You can see it swooping down the coastline here as we go on in through Saturday afternoon and eventually engulf all of California with those gusty winds out of the north and northwest here, swooping down the coastline all the way on in through Sunday morning. So pretty big pattern change incoming here, folks. And then we're going to do it again probably at some point next week as well. Now, I want to show you a wider view of things here. We've got the state of Alaska. There's British Columbia, Washington. Here's California right here. And what we're looking at is 850 millibars, about 5,000 feet. If we put this into motion, there goes our next storm system. You can really see it pushing down the coastline there. Some very chilly air is going to overtake much of the southwest, as you see right there. But watch what happens across some of northwest Canada as we go off into Tuesday afternoon. Look at that cold air starting to pile up across the Rockies and northern British Columbia here, so Northwest Territories and the Yukon out there, and just watch how this sags down across Pacific Northwest, starts to spill out over the Pacific Ocean here, and makes its way potentially even down towards California here, as this very cold air mass is going to engulf much of the west. How far will this flow out over the ocean here? What kind of cyclogenesis and storm development will we get? All good questions, and those are things we will be looking at very closely here over the next few days. Now, this is looking at the GFS. This is hot off the presses. We're looking at the timing of our system rolling in here. And you can see as we go through Saturday morning, starts to impact Northern California. Excuse me, still under the weather out here, folks. I might go to the urgent care this morning and get some antibiotics so I can get bacterial by this point. But anyway, here we go with some of that snow flying down across Northern California, moving across the Sierra Nevada as we go through Sunday night. You can continue to see it ongoing here. This very cold air mass starts to swing snow across Arizona and New Mexico as well. And we scroll up into the future a little bit more here, and that Arctic air starts to get ramped up across the Pacific Northwest. And again, another system drops down as we go through. This would be about that day Wednesday, the following week here. And you can see again another round of snowfall, some lower snow levels as well. And we scroll off into the future, and yet another storm system, very cold air mass setting up across much of the western USA. So lots to watch here upcoming, folks. As you saw, that's a 1-2-3 punch of some very cold air moving down across much of the state of California and the southwest. Now, looking at the European as of last night, I want to show you that the timing of that system again is Saturday morning for Northern California. By the time you get to Saturday afternoon, that snow is really going to start picking up across the Sierra Nevada. Saturday night through Sunday, you can see it across some of the higher terrain. It's going to be continuing on in towards Sunday afternoon, and then the system pushes off to the south and east, and then our next storm system will be arriving from the northwest as well as we go on in through probably on the morning and Wednesday of the following week here, but we have a few days to watch that storm system as well. Now, looking at the total snow, let's look at yesterday afternoon's European. There goes the system we're talking about Saturday and Sunday. You know, some pretty decent amounts of snowfall for the Sierra Nevada again coming in here, and a pretty chilly storm with the lower snow levels. Northern Arizona, New Mexico getting some as well. And then we go to Wednesday's storm. You can see the additional snow flying here. And then we go towards the end of the week, and you can see additional systems just really ramping up the snowfall across the higher terrain. And some of Southern California could start getting in on the action depending on the trajectory of these storms and just how much cold air spills down the coastline. Now, taking a look, I want to show you something really wild here. This is yesterday afternoon's European run. So California's here. There goes our first storm system as we go through Saturday and Sunday, dropping down the coastline. And then you can see the next storm system here as we go through. This one will be starting to impact us on the day Wednesday here. Look at this polar lobe just swing out across Pacific Northwest. This is just absolutely ridiculous. This is an old school Arctic blast here, if this were to verify. And you can see its trajectory just engulf much of the state of California, coming off the coastline here as well. Extremely dynamic storm coming down across the region. Probably an outlier. I expect this to be backed off some here as we go through the next few days, but this has been showing up in the models at times over the last few days as well. So this is kind of a fantasy forecast right now, but just kind of showing you what kind of air mass we're potentially dealing with trying to drop down across the western portion of the USA. Here's the 2-meter temperature anomaly. What would that look like? You can clearly see this well below average temperature here stretching down. I mean, this is just pegged to scale here. A lot of those areas are 40 degrees plus below average temperatures for this time of year. But again, kind of a fantasy forecast right now. This is pretty much for entertainment right now, but it has been showing up in some of the models. This is the GFS. We're looking at total snow-Kachura ratio in inches. This is hot off the press. I'm going to scroll through this pretty quick here, and we're going to go out about 200 hours, and you can see the huge amounts that we have the potential to build across the Sierra Nevada. Now, taking a look at the 6 to 10 day, you can see much of the West Climate Prediction Center here is on to this cold air mass, dropping down all the way through mid-January. And here's a 6 to 10 day, keeps us above average here across California as well. Here's the 2-meter temperature here. This is the daily minimum 2-meter temperature. And as we scroll through the next few days, you can see it's going to be pretty chilly there across some of the valley areas here. We go to Monday morning, you see some 30s maybe across some of Southern California. There's going to be some frost and freeze warnings, especially for some of the sheltered areas. And then we scroll on in through the week upcoming there, and you can kind of see that continued cold air across much of the West Coast here. But anyway, snow water equivalent still below normal, but we have that chance of catching up here. And I better end this video here before I go into a coughing fit. And yeah, but interesting stuff, folks. You guys saw the 1, 2, 3 punch coming over the next week to 10 days. So get ready. Saturday morning is when the snow first arrives. But anyway, I'll try to do this again tomorrow. Hopefully my health is still holding up. I'm going to again head to the urgent care here as soon as I finish up this video and go see what they have to say about it. But anyway, now, fun stuff here. Arctic air. How far south will it get? But yeah, we'll break everything down again tomorrow. Hope you guys are having a good day. Click like and subscribe, and we'll do this again tomorrow.